Mr. Welch.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Secretary Geithner and Chairman Bernanke, for your incredible service in a pretty tumultuous time. I want to go back to this question that really is a central issue for Congress. I'll start with you, Mr. Bernanke. We're having a debate, as you know, in Congress about, with the level of the debt, is austerity the policy that we should be pursuing, or should it be investment, putting it in broad terms? And on the investment side, have it be something where in the short term we try to maintain low interest rates and rebuild our economy, but have a long-term plan to make for a sustainable fiscal future. On this question of austerity, the budget that's recently been introduced, I think, has implicit in it two assumptions. One is austerity will be beneficial to growth, and the budget that's been proposed in the House for our consideration would cut spending across the board in many of the domestic domestic discretionary areas, infrastructure, housing, medical research, education. It would fence off the Pentagon. In fact, the sequester cuts would be avoided. So, number one, the implicit assumption is that austerity is the path in this budget, the path to progress and growth. The second assumption in this budget appears to be that if we reduce taxes on folks who have substantial incomes, that likewise will lead to growth. My question to you is there any evidence that either the assumption about cutting taxes on high incomes in these economic circumstances does lead to growth, number one? Number two, is cutting some expenditures in these items I mentioned, medical research, education, is there evidence to indicate that that will also lead to growth and a lower debt?
Excuse me. I think the right general approach, without talking too much about specific policies, again, is a balanced approach which works to achieve financial stability and fiscal sustainability in the longer term while being respectful of the need to maintain the recovery at the current stage. And I think that's a balanced approach that can be managed. On the other issues, I think it's also important not just to look at the size of the debt or the debt-GDP ratio, but ask ourselves, what is the quality of the fiscal programs being undertaken? On the spending side, if we're making investments, are they a bridge to nowhere, or are they a type of infrastructure investment that will pay a return and improve economic activity and be worth the investment that's being made? On the tax side, is it smart tax policy? Is it broadening the base and lowering rates and achieving a fairer and more efficient tax code? So on both of those things, I think a balanced approach to fiscal sustainability, but also looking at the specific programs with the eye of trying to achieve healthier long-term growth is very important.
Okay, thank you. Secretary Geithner, do you have anything to add on that? This is the central debate in the House, certainly.
The fundamental debate we have to face and the things that happen at the end of this year require Congress to confront these things, provide a huge incentive to deal with them now. And the choices are, how fast should we cut our deficit? Be careful not to do it in a way that would undermine the economy in the short run and the long run. What mix of cuts and tax increases is most appropriate for the long run? What should be the role of government in helping support investments in infrastructure, education that have high returns over time? And what commitments should we leave and replace to our retiring seniors in healthcare and Social Security? Those are the things which separate us fundamentally. You know our approach, which is a balanced approach which phases in savings over time as we recover and preserves room to make investments in education and infrastructure so that we're growing over the long run, and maintains a commitment made by Republicans and Democrats for decades in this country to guarantee our seniors a retirement security and healthcare security in their retirements. And those are things we can afford to do. Now, we can't put off these fiscal challenges indefinitely. Our fiscal position is unsustainable over the long run, but that is not an argument to go and dramatically erode the capacity of this country to make the economy stronger, provide more opportunity over the longer run.
Thank you. I'll now recognize my